Hi, this is Catherine. This is Taking Tea with Catherine. This is called Northern Lights from Tea Source. It is a nice herbal tea, spearmint and vanilla. I quite enjoy it, and maybe you would too. I don't know what you like. I thought I would do a tag video. I haven't done one in a while, but I've been tagged a few times and usually just didn't have energy, but this one just sounded very much up my alley and easy to not have to think too much about, if that makes sense. And it's called the library tag. I was tagged by Marissa at Blatantly Bookish, another frequenter of libraries. Frequenter to libraries or of? Anyway, let's not debate that. So I thought, okay, let's do this. It was created by Book Buds, and I will always encourage visiting the library if possible because it is a very good resource. So the first question is, how often do you go to the library? And I don't know an average. It really depends. Like if I've put a lot of physical books on hold and suddenly they became available at different times and I wanted to go. But on the average, I would say once a week. Yeah. um, Two, do you belong to more than one library system? Yes. I belong to, the oldest one I belong to is the Queensborough Public Library, which is the entire borough of Queens in New York, in the New York City, area. And the other one I've also had a card for quite some time, is the New York Public Library, which I believe covers every other borough except for Queens and Brooklyn. So Manhattan, Staten Island, the Bronx, and I think Roosevelt Island, which is technically considered part of Manhattan, but it's an island, etc. And yeah, I don't have a card, but I know I have some kind of online membership for Brooklyn, but not. It doesn't feel as official. I guess I cover the whole New York system. And in previous years when I was in schools, different kinds of college, whatever, I had that membership too, but no more. Number three, what percent of books do you read that you read come from the library? Well, I didn't add it up this time and see the percentage, but at least half, probably more, which is a shame because, again, I have a lot of books. I have a lot of books that I own that I want to read. And I say it's a shame. I'm not discouraging libraries at all. It is the best. It is the best resource to me still. If you have access to it, it is the best resource for books, in my opinion. But it's just that I have so many books that I own that I keep trying to read, and then I just hear about a book that I want to read and I don't buy it because it's available at the library, especially if it's new. Why spend that much money when you can get it without spending money? So then I end up checking out a bunch of books, and then I concentrate on the library books and forget about the books that I own. So even though I still say it's better that I have this ability, it's still one of those things that I say, man, this is a bit silly. However, the biggest deal, no. Number four, do you listen to audiobooks or get ebooks from the library, or are you hooked on Audible or Amazon or something else? Well, I don't usually do audiobooks per se. I listened to one audiobook this year, and I partially listened to an audiobook and partially read, and it's still not really for me. So I don't use that, and I don't use the library for that, really. I think one time I got an audiobook from the library and it wasn't great. So I don't remember the example. I'm sorry, I don't remember which one it was, but it wasn't for me. And I'm not saying it's bad, it's just not for me. I have done ebooks, and I currently have ebooks out. At least one. A book about bookshops called The Bookshop, I think. I don't have it with me right now, so I forgot who the author is. But yeah, it's kind of weird, but that's okay because it was the way I could access it right now, and it's a good book, and I don't really like as much reading on e-readers, but like I said, it's a good there are a lot of books that you could only get from the library in e-version, in digital version, and so I'd rather be able to read certain books than not, or have to pay for them if they're full price still. I just can't buy every new book that comes out. So this is something, and since I purchased a Kindle, was it last year? I don't remember what it was now. And I got a very lightweight one. It is helpful because I can bring it with me everywhere, and I've used it more. I've done more digital reading since then, and most of that is from the library. So yes, let's see, where are we? Number 5. Did you go to Storytime or the library at the library as a kid? I don't remember doing so. My sister might remember if she's watching. I don't feel like that ever happened, and if it did, it's just not coming to my memory. My sister's younger than me, so I don't know if she would remember that anyway, but it just, I remember we went to the library so much when I was a kid, but I don't remember that. If it happened, it just didn't stick. Number 6, have you ever borrowed a movie or a video game from your library? Not a video game, and I wonder when I had a console when I was younger. I wonder if that was a resource. I don't know. We used to rent them. We owned a few. We used to rent them from video stores, but we had to pay to rent them. I wonder. I don't remember that being a thing. However, I don't really have an easy way to play DVDs right now, so I haven't in a while, but I used to borrow a lot of DVDs. I don't know, over 10 years ago, I used to check out a lot of DVDs because there's so many things, and honestly, there's so many things now that are still not always easy to find streaming. So, and sometimes you would find it at the library. But and I remember when I first got into Doctor Who, and I was catching up. I was able to watch a lot of things, a lot of classic Doctor Who that way. Now it's easy to find in a lot of ways on streaming, but yeah, I don't remember any specific examples, but there were probably quite a few. Let's see. Yes. Number 7. Have you ever gotten fined? Yes. For returning books late? If so, how do you feel about that? That question, how do you feel about that? I'm trying to see, is that like do you feel bad? Or is that just asking? But I don't feel bad in terms of like a terrible person. I just didn't love paying fines because no one wants to have to pay more for something that's supposed to be a free resource. However, it did keep me going in terms of being timely at returning things because, yeah, it adds up. I wasn't chronically bad at returning things, so I didn't have terrible fines most of the time. It just happened every once in a while. Maybe I just didn't get to the library in time, or like I've heard others say sometimes you just wanted to finish a book and you weren't finished yet. You had, you knew you had a couple of days to finish it. The thing is, in a way it was good because now we don't have, in where I'm at, in the two main library systems that I use, there's no more fines. If you keep a book out over, I think, a month, they'll have a little charge there, but you don't really have to pay it because if you just return it, it'll be wiped off. I think it adds up to a point that if it adds up to a certain amount, then you won't be able to borrow anymore until you pay up. But I haven't been there yet, and I've had overdue books. Sometimes I let it go for a week or so, but they don't. It almost encourages bad behavior, almost, to not have to pay a fine anymore. But it also, I think it makes me feel less nervous. Like, again, I don't want to make other people have to wait for me especially if it's a book that is really in demand, but there's not a lot of copies of it. I understand someone out there's waiting for it, but I also feel like, occasionally it's nice to not have to stress that, oh man, there's a book I'm really wanting to read right now. I know I should read this book because it's going to be overdue soon, but at least I don't have to pay for it. But I did have a story. Well, it's not a very interesting story, but about a while back now, when I was borrowing DVDs, I had one or two out, and then I got strep throat. And a lot of DVDs you can only have a short period of time, and then if it's overdue, it costs a lot more than whatever it was, the fine, like 25 cents a day. I think it was a lot more than that. Like, I don't remember how much it was, but I remember getting stressed because I said I can't go to work. It was the New York Public Library, so I couldn't go in and return it because I had strep throat. No one wants me to go in with strep throat, and it's adding up. So when I got back, I went to the library, returned it, and told the person working behind the counter, I didn't even ask him to take it off. I just said, this is why it's overdue this long. I had strep throat. He said, "Oh, you have strep throat? Oh, that's terrible." And he just wiped it right off. I think he knew me just by sight well enough to say, yeah, she doesn't seem like she's trying to get one over on anybody. you know? So that was good because that would have been quite the fine. And I don't even remember what movie or what TV show it was, but probably wasn't worth that much. Okay, let's see. Have number 8. Do you attend special events, groups, or book sales at the library? Well, I did attend a signing or author appearance earlier this year when I went to see Jasper Fforde, which I was surprised because every time I've seen him previously, he's always been in a bookshop. I was really happy that I think it's Soho Press is the publisher for him right now, that they decided to use the New York Public Library. I said, well, and one that was easily reachable by me. This was great. I still purchased the book because I wanted to have that book. It's one of my rare new book purchases that I've made in recent days. But it was fantastic. I have been hearing a lot more about certain events, and I'm considering occasionally going to these things. A lot of times you have to sign up for something, and sometimes I don't want to commit, but if it's something I really want to do, then sure. I also went to the New York Public Library, the big famous branch on 42nd Street, has basically a museum. Sometimes they have moving exhibitions, and sometimes they have ones that are permanent. And I went to one that was specially put together, but I think it's still pretty much there now, where you can see all kinds of things. Some of Jane Austen's handwriting, Charles Dickens, paw bookmark thing that he made from his cat, a little weird. One of his chairs. Was it some kind of Bible translation at some point, I think? And other things that, Winnie the Pooh, the original toys that Christopher Robin had, I believe, and other things too. I'm not going to be trying to remember everything, but it was pretty fantastic. So I don't know if that counts in there, but I've also done book sales. Midtown used to have a wonderful book sale. Sorry, there's a dog barking. I hope you don't mind. It's not my dog. There was a great, constant book sale in the Midtown branch that I used to go to with my sister. It was wonderful. I got so many books that way. And then one day it just stopped, and I haven't found out about any local to me since at all. And I feel kind of sad about that because my workplace, the office that I work in, there are a number of libraries in walking distance, and not one of them has the book sales, and I missed that. I really missed that. My local to home library just was renovated. It was closed for so long, and they decided to open up a space downstairs I think for mostly like a lab computer room or something, which is fine, but I also thought, man, why couldn't you open up like a book sale situation, or at least have temporary ones occasionally? There is one that is permanent in the Webster, I think it's called the Webster Library, and it's kind of far from where I'm at. It's hard to get to, and if you have a pile of books, I talked about it before, the bookseller, if you have like a pile of books that you picked up from there, it's kind of hard for me to bring them home now because you have to transfer. It's a long story, so it's not as helpful, and that's okay. Not like I need more books, but yeah, I haven't done too many recently. There was that library, I don't think it was a public library in Chicago when I visited last year, that had a wonderful sale. I mean, beyond wonderful. I don't think I've ever gotten that many books at one time. I could be wrong. My sister definitely never got that many books out one time. It was fantastic. It was legendary. I wish they do more things like that. Okay, number 9. Have you ever given or taken a book from a little free library, a book box, or a book swap? I don't know what they mean by a book box and book swap. I'm not sure if I've ever done a swap, but little free libraries for sure. Um, in early days, they were hard to find, but in my neighborhood now, there's one that's pretty close. It's the one that I will usually bring any books that I'm getting rid of, usually, and it always needs a few extra books. And sometimes I'll find something there, but not too often. And then there's other ones. Every once in a while, I'll pop over and go to one. Once again, when I'm with my sister, when I visit her, we go around looking for them. We have so much fun. It is great. And when I was last in London, again, a little while ago now, a couple of years, but one time I was just walking. I think it was the last day I was there, and we found a little free library. I love it. I will contribute to them enough that I don't feel bad about taking, but I love coming across them. I think they're a great idea. When I first saw one, it was when I was visiting a friend in San Diego. I didn't think I could take the book because I thought I would have to leave a book. I thought that was like an honor system thing. You're supposed to leave a book. And it's nice if you do, but it's not necessary. So I would say if you're going to take books from a little free library, unless you really, really love the books that are in there so much and you really want all of them, which is pretty rare. Like if it's just, if you've been looking, like I'll give you an example. Charlotte Young is an author that is so hard to find right now, that I can find anyway in a local bookshop. I don't know how it is in the UK, but in the United States and probably Canada, I don't think she's easy to find. So if I passed a little free library and there was like 10 books and like 6 of them were Charlotte Young, I'm taking the 6 Charlotte Youngs. And I don't care if I seem greedy. That is one time I will do that, but that is not a habit that I would get into. Anyway, I don't know why I'm rambling about that, but these tags are supposed to invite conversation, right? So yeah, and I say really, if you guys ever know that you have one near you and you know that you have some books that you want to get rid of, yeah, it's good to sometimes just sell them back. But if you can, try to bring some books when possible to these things. It's great. It's great to update it. It's great for them to have variety. So yes, totally look forward to that anytime. Bonus. Does your librarian know you by name? I don't think so. I don't think I've ever heard one of them call me by name, which is fine. I'm a hi and goodbye kind of person. Once in a while, someone who is checking out my books, I will say something conversational to, but I don't tend to hang out, and I don't think they really want me to because they have to help other people. Usually the branches I go to, even if they are friendly, they usually don't have time to just sit around and talk, and usually I'm on some kind of break or go on the way home, so I probably won't have time to talk either. So yeah, I almost feel weird that they don't know me by name, because you would think like I had a time period where I was going to a place and getting pretty much the same order of breakfast from them. I've cut down a lot lately, but I used to go and I don't know if they know my name, but I would come in and they wouldn't even have to ask. They would just start making it. And I was good and weird at the same time. But I'm like, if someone knew my bagel order for so long, then how come no one in the library knows my name? But that's neither here nor there, whatever. So as far as tagging, I don't know who to tag. I'm very shy with tagging people sometimes, especially if it's gone around for a little bit. But I will say, those of you who like to leave comments, please use these questions as possible. I mean, you could comment whatever you want, but if you want to answer 1 or 2 of these questions in the comments, I would consider yourself tags, because I would love to hear your experiences with the library. And even if you are, from New York or thereabouts, that's fine. But especially if you are from other places, I'd like to know a little more about your library systems. I've been to a couple of them when I'm visiting people, and I stopped in 1 or 2 libraries in London, when I was there just for fun, even though I couldn't check anything out. But I don't really know everybody's situation with the library, and I'm interested. So that is all for now. This is Catherine at Taking Tea with Catherine. Have a lovely tea and book filled, whether from the bookshop or the library, day. Bye.